Pflugerville Parks and Rec Commission, April 17th at 7:04. Okay, the commission welcomes comments on parks and recreation items. Public comment that is made on an item is not on the published agenda, will only be heard by the commission. No form, action, discussion, or comment will be made. Each person providing public comment will be limited to 3 minutes and will be asked to state his name and address for the record, for the public record. Anyone here would like to speak?
Yes.
Okay, we have one.
Sure. Hello, my name's Craig Reinecke. I live in northwest side over close to living spaces. So I'm that general area. I'm coming here. I'm actually one of the members of a new group called Strong Towns Pflugerville, strongtownspflugerville.org. And we're promoting a lot of just helping citizens to be able to get a better to be able to help citizens to have a voice, to be able to make a change in the community in a lot of the ways that we're developing our city. And I'm here today, it's because I heard Ms. Kelly, was it? Her presentation last month on the mobility master plan. And it really hits strong with us, and we're so happy about that. One of the things, so if y'all have not participated in the surveys and stuff or anything with that, get in there. They're really listening to us, and I really appreciate it. I will say, honestly, whenever I heard that we were becoming the city of trails, and it actually kind of irritated me a little bit. And then, as with the presentation, it said 2,000 to 1 was like what they try and get to, and we go 2,000 for every 2,000 residents. There's 1.5 miles. So we're extending that and pushing it, and I really love it. One thing that I know that our group really pushes for is it's about mobility for everyone. You know, we're a very car-dependent society, and that we lose our identity out of it. And the Parks and Rec were really important because a lot of people, there's so much going on here to be able for people to intermingle and be able to work together and get to know each other. And it's a very powerful thing. And connectivity with the trails and everything. So anything we can do to help guide everything. We're not about being anti-car or anything. We're about trying to give choice to people. Like, I know that when parks come in, they're usually from 2 to 5 and 5 to 12. Well, the 12 plus, they were talking about at the last city meeting. The 12 plus, it's here. It's the trails. And that is what's so important. We need to really encourage the development of that part of it for that middle age, to help that identity, so we can be a multi-generational city. I would love for us to keep developing so that my daughter will be able to grow up here, and then her kids will be able to grow here, and we continue with the identity of being that bedroom city to that other weird place. You know, it's kind of hard for our identity. And the more we do to interconnect us, the more that we'll be more proud of who we are. So, and I just want to say thank you very much for the work on the mobility plan, Ms. Kelly, and the fact that I really appreciate it, because it really makes me feel a little bit that much more proud of being a Pflugervillian. So I've been here for 20 years, and I would love to end it here, and another 100. All right, thank you.
Just some housekeeping. Kurt, what was the last name?
Thank you.
Reinecke, Reinecke.
And then the address?
I decline.
Okay. Awesome. All right, thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay, we'll move on. We'll go to the item 3, approval of minutes. Hopefully everybody got a chance to look at them, discuss and consider action to approve minutes from the last meeting. Any comments, any corrections on the minutes? Do you have a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting?
I move to approve the minutes.
Do we have a second?
A second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We want to move to We're gonna move things around a little bit. Instead of going to item 4A, we're gonna go to 5A and then 5B. So 5A is discuss and consider action regarding the city of Pflugerville's mobility master plan.
I think Kelly's here. Yeah. You want me to just push or you want me to?
I got him.
Awesome.
So my name is Kelly Reese. I'm a mobility transportation engineering consultant with Kimley Horn. I've been working with the city with Shane and Jeff, with Jeremy and Emily for quite a while now on this mobility master plan. We're getting to a draft version of the plan. I wanted to talk with you all about what that's looking like. We talked with you all a couple weeks ago about what it was looking like as we came toward the draft plan, just kind of giving an update of where we're at now. There's been a handful of things we've ironed out since the last time we talked and giving an update and letting y'all see where we've gotten. As an overview, kind of again going over what is the mobility master plan, what's changed since the last time we were here and presented to y'all, kind of go over the trails plan and talk about what we have coming up next. The MMP, again, as an overview, previously Pflugerville had 3 different documents that really talked about transportation in different ways. The farthest back published one was the Transportation Master Plan. At the time it was published, the goals of that document were really roadway focused to help get to funding for roads. It touched on pieces of active mobility, but really was a roadway-centric document. Pflugerville published its comprehensive plan in 22 that talked a lot about 10-minute neighborhoods and transportation-related items and how to get smaller feeling communities, which have a lot of transportation elements. And then the Parks and Rec Master Plan was published in 23. That included updates to the Trails Master Plan, which is another piece of mobility. And so this mobility master plan is bringing all 3 of those documents together to really count mobility and transportation as one set of items, from the roads to the trails to the sidewalks and all ways that people get around. The vision that we developed with input from the community is that the mobility master plan strives to create a sustainable network for multiple transportation options that enhance safety, connectivity, and resiliency for the Pflugerville community and its visitors. And then that is broken out into 6 goals: safety, connectivity, having an effective network, having options to travel, partnerships with other around the region, and then a strong communication network so that the public's informed of what we're trying to do. And so one of the main components of this plan is the Trails Plan. This is the Trails Plan as y'all have it today. We cleaned up the aesthetics a little bit, but this is the line work of what the Trails Network is. There's already over 50 miles of existing trails. As it was mentioned, Pflugerville has the densest trail network per mile per 2,000 residents of any other city in Texas that's been studied. And that's an important part of the Pflugerville community, and there's a goal to keep that and enhance that. And so there's 3 different colors. They basically represent types of trails, where spine is kind of your big, sort of like a roadway arterial like Pflugerville Parkway. Loop is sort of your center, it gets you to and from, and then arm is some of the more neighborhood type trails, like your neighborhood roads, essentially. And so this got broken out. You'll notice that the current plan is almost entirely within city limits. There's a little bit in the ETJ, but it really ends kind of right where the ETJ ends. And so the Trails Plan published in the MMP both intensifies trails in city limits and expands it out into the ETJ as the city plans for what develops out there. Some of the intent of this is that when it's on this plan and new developments come in, they can be enforced to build these trails based on what's on the plan. And so really trying to preserve that space, especially in the undeveloped areas. And also just to have the plan for what to build in terms of the trail network. We really want it to be a way that people can get around town. It's recreation, it's mobility, it ties all in. There's 2 types of trails you'll sort of notice. Some of them follow roadways and some of them are independent and are sort of greenbelt type trails. First, you'll notice there's also several points that this ties into the surrounding other cities' trail networks. The 2 stars at the bottom tie into the Austin network. Some of the ones on the north to the west of 130 tie into Round Rock's network, and then the ones east of 130 tie into Hutto's network. And so we're really intentional about getting those connections so you can't just get around Pflugerville, but around the whole region. Also, we have an online engagement portal where people gave feedback, and there are several trails around town that people specifically called out as wanting to see moving forward that we took into consideration. First, there are what we're calling off-street trails. These are following green belts, following creeks, following easements. The kind of funky straight line in the east side of the ETJ is following an electrical easement. And so these are really kind of your nature type feel of trails. But then we also classify, as long as the trails are defined in Pflugerville as being at least 10 feet. And so there's some locations where the roadway provides 10 foot. And especially then when it has some buffer from the roadway are classified as trails. And so that was the easiest way for us to start setting aside trail dedication in the ETJ especially. You'll notice a lot of them out there. And between the off-street trails and on-street trails, we're adding over 150 miles of trails to the Pflugerville network, with about a third of them being the off-street and about another third of them, 2/3 of them being the on-street. We talked with y'all about a month ago. We've had a couple things change since then. I mentioned that the roadway network, pieces of it are considered trails. Previously, we considered that our collector roads, which is sort of the middle tier of road, could count as trails as well. Based on some of the changes we made to cross sections, we ultimately decided that those are no longer considered what we're planning as trails, and so it's just the arterials. So the grid on the east side is a little less dense than what we showed y'all last time. But as Pflugerville continues to develop that way, we'll continue to look at it and make sure that we're adding trails wherever we can.
And the reason for that is the right-of-ways. The right-of-ways in those cross sections were already so wide that the trails came in at like 6 or 7 feet. So it just didn't hit our standard for what we wanted to see as trails. So there still will be areas that people will walk on, but we just won't count
Call
it part of our trail network.
Well, and the ones that you're saying are kind of shared with cars or roadways, is that something that's going to be, you're going to have cars like going alongside?
It'll be parallel, but it'll be separated by a 5-foot buffer,
Okay.
and then you'll have a 10-foot path on both sides of the road.
Very much like
Pflugerville Parkway.
Pflugerville Parkway, Old Austin Hunter Road or anything like that.
Another clarification that we made in the plan is that trails within the right-of-way, as development comes in and are incentivized to find ways that the things that they build are credited toward their development. We've decided that trails within the right-of-way are considered mobility improvements. They're not considered parkland improvements for developments. And then we've had a lot of talk about how to handle electric vehicles in the city as a whole, especially golf cart type vehicles, and then particularly within the trail system. We were looking at what we were calling low-speed vehicle paths for use kind of intended by golf cart style vehicles. We've rebranded that a little bit as shared use connector paths, and really kind of calling them, they are shared use paths that are just enabled to be used by vehicles. They're not really part of the trail system the way that they were being considered the last time that we were talking. Also, I have a couple pictures of the cross sections to help show how this impacts the trail system. This is the minor collector that has that separation between the bike lane and the sidewalk that at first we were considering a trail because the combined width of the two met the standard, but since they're two separate facilities like this, this is the reason that they were considered not a trail system in the ETJ. But there will be both bicycle and pedestrian facilities along the roads. Very similar for the major collector, because the two facilities are separate, they're no longer considered a trail. And then there's an urban section that does have that 10-foot shared use path. You'll see the top versus the bottom. The bottom is what we have today. The top is what we're proposing with this mobility master plan. And so this is what we're considering a trail. There's a nice 5-foot buffer between where you'll interact with a car anywhere along the roadway.
It's got a dedicated bike lane too.
Yes. And so what's next? We have the document essentially put together. We're getting final feedback on it from relevant groups, but looking to go to planning and zoning early next month to present the document to them. After planning and zoning sees it, assuming no major issues, we're planning to take it to city council twice, once to show them and then once for approval. So that is where we're at with the M&P.
This is a discuss and consider. So hoping for action tonight that would go to planning and zoning and ultimately up through council. And if you have any questions, staff is here as well as Kelly to answer.
Now, if you could go back to the golf cart scenario. I didn't see it on if you go forward now. There, I didn't see it anywhere. Is
So-
it part of the bike lane or is it part of?
So there's been a lot of discussion. The intention is that we're going to try and introduce trial areas where they're allowed, and what's also shown here is the bike lane. Not from the get-go, but as a like trial.
Yeah, I mean, I think golf carts potentially are coming, right? And it's something that I think as a society, we may have to get used to seeing more of. And there could be quite the benefit for non-vehicular traffic, right? Keeping people off the grid. But I don't know of, except for a very small amount of cities, mostly golf communities where a lot of folks already have a golf cart. They're very used to traveling on these paths as a cart path. Usually don't even travel on those as a walking path. It's almost always cart path type traveling. And we talked to a group out in Lincoln, California. We talked to a group out in Peachtree, Georgia. And we've talked to some people in the middle of the country as well. And we wanted to make sure that the opportunity for this city to grow into potentially more cart-based was there, but we didn't come out firing that guns a-blazing, because I don't know if we're completely comfortable with how we would roll that out. And I think as a trail capital of Texas, and that trail capital being predominantly pedestrian use, I don't know if our users are particularly ready for a bunch of carts riding on the same paths as them. So is there infrastructure in place that in the future, this city could adopt some sort of improvement or ordinance or changes that would allow for some of these locations to be shared use paths? Absolutely. Are we recommending to council that as soon as they adopt this, we're putting carts on our trails? No, not yet. I just think the growth is there, the opportunity is there, the infrastructure is there. We don't have to rip out roads and redo it. But I don't know if our population is ready to share the trails 100%. And we just have so many pedestrian walkers on this stuff that I think this city, more than maybe even a city that was less likely to be the trail capital of Texas, would have to educate and ease that into coexistence a little bit more. So everything's in place for this to see us ramp up to that, if that's the will of leadership and council and the citizens in the future. But we're not coming out as that being our number one priority.
I know some of the HOAs just outside the city, like Avalon and out Spidell, Blackhawks out Spidell, have all sprouted, that have 10-foot wide concrete paths, have all sprouted no motor vehicle signs over the last several years.
Yeah,
And it's not just golf carts, it's all kinds of,
E-bikes and
well, no,
That's
all
good.
kinds of, what do you call it, ATV type.
Yeah.
For, like,
As
heavy duty
those-
golf cart type things.
As those vehicles get cheaper and easier to make, we're seeing more, not quote unquote a responsible adult using them, but a 10, 12, 13-year-old kid ripping and running on your trails and potentially running someone off the road or off the trail area. And so, like I said, I think that is probably the wave of the future. I think you will see more people that potentially live somewhere along a trail system and want to go to Walmart or want to go to work at Amazon, and they take that trail and that cart on the way. I think that potentially could be the future of how a city de-grids its grid system. But I don't think we're ready yet, and I just don't think our users are 100% ready for what that looks like, whatever trauma, quote unquote trauma that might provide folks that for the most part are used to pedestrians and some bikes, maybe a dog running off pretty randomly from time to time. So we think this provides everything the city needs to move to that without starting out that with this.
Right.
So I didn't mean to talk over you, Christian, but e-bikes are yet another
Yep.
variation of that.
They have-
I know
they have
a lot
classes
of
and-
municipalities are really
yep.
struggling with that.
They're a little bit more regulated because of the transportation code by the state, and you would have to write something if you don't write something specifically in the ordinance about, that addresses the transportation code at the state level, you kind of defer to the state level. So class 1, 2, and 3 e-bikes right now are allowed because we don't have anything that states that they're not.
Well, it seems like we've had an abundance recently of motorized wheelchairs.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, and that kind of gets to my question about like, again, you mentioned there's like different, stages of e-bikes and categories that way, and then again, there's like wheelchairs, you got electric scooters,
Yeah.
Skateboards. Like, what's Pflugerville's current? Again, so we kind of defer to the state on that, so it sounds
Sure.
like it's kind of allowed until we come up with an ordinance.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. If the cart isn't out of the barn with carts, it's definitely out of the barn with e-bikes. Like I think e-bikes are happening. I don't think at this point our city would write it out of an ordinance. Maybe that's possible, but for the most part, people are getting used to them. They go a little faster than they used to on their own bikes, obviously. But people are. I saw a couple of them parked over here coming into the facility. So I think more and more people are getting used to those. They're also not as wide, right? So they might go fast, but they're also a bike's width. The problem with some of these golf carts is they go, especially the ATVs, go just as fast as those e-bikes. They're double the width, right? They're taking up a lot of the real estate on that trail itself. And so, like I said, I think we will move towards some sort of cart utopia in the future. I just don't know if it'll be 2025. Maybe it'll be 2050 or whatever.
So we live near Hendrickson and have a city 10-foot wide trail across the street from us. And it's interesting watching the high school kids on their e-bikes. Some of them ride on that 10-foot wide trail, some of them ride in the street, some of them ride on the sidewalk, on the 4-foot wide sidewalk on our side, which is the worst option.
Right.
Not because it's my house, but because
Sure.
it's the least safe. And it's just mayhem right now.
Well, I mean, if you're a parent and you have the means to purchase a child one of those smaller vehicles, you're going to tell them don't get in the road, right? Don't ride in the road. So they're going to ride on the trail or in the park system.
Yeah.
That's just where we're going to see them, and we're starting to see them
You
more in
said
our parks.
teenagers, right?
Yeah.
But we're just trying to make sure that we're creating a plan that can grow when the city's ready to grow.
Yeah. As a very safety conscious avid bicyclist, my wife is sick of me critiquing the kids driving past on their e-bikes, and they have some that are like electric motorcycles. Even.
Yeah.
They don't even have pedals now. It's like,
Yeah,
I don't know, are those classified as e-bikes?
I think they're class 4 if they don't have pedals
Yeah.
or something. Class 3, yeah. It starts to crank up. There are some things that we could potentially say it doesn't meet our
I mean,
general code.
I think it's great that teenagers are getting those things. I mean,
Yeah.
it's awesome that they don't have to be with the traffic backed up in front of my house at school time. Also, getting them onto those and off the road is great.
Yeah.
But currently, the understanding of how you should ride them is just all
I
over
don't
the
want
place.
this to be a declaration of the team that worked on this is comfortability about carts on paths. It was more about our comfortability of were we ready to roll it out? And was our population ready to 100% just completely merge all those different users on the same trail system? And I just don't think we're ready yet. I really don't know if they're ready yet. And so we got some feedback from folks that want to see that, and we're building that infrastructure in, but we're not making a recommendation in this plan to be rolling that out day one. That's all it is.
And I think one more thought on that, you'll notice on this map, if I give you the mouse, there's this shared use path connector, which really kind of blends in at this point, but you can sort of see there's one here and there's one here, and so these are what we're recommending in the plan as trial areas, not necessarily build them day one, but if there's clear need for this type of facilities in a community, these are locations that make sense either because the connection is a short one from point A to point B to destinations that people want, or it's through the floodplain, so you can never build a road, but you can build this kind of path. We have some trial areas in here that, again, we're ready to roll them out when they're ready to be rolled out. And setting that aside, kind of building in the flexibility for it without doing it from day one.
Cool.
So do we need to make a motion to?
We'll need a motion.
We want to make a motion to approve the plan for the plan and zoning review.
I'll make it. I move that we approve.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody disapprove? Anybody opposed?
If you disapprove.
No. Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now we're gonna have a run of some discuss and consider options. Come on over here.
Come on down.
Come on. Aaron's coming back with public art. We got some different public arts too.
Yes, and we are excited to bring some more options for you for consideration. Perfect.
If you wanna try
Yep,
it.
yep. All right, well, the first sculpture for consideration tonight is titled Sweethearts. It's from the Love Your Bike series by Amos Robinson, and we are proposing to locate it within Wilbarger Creek Park South. It would be placed on a pole that would allow for 360-degree range of motion. The wheels would spin freely when the wind blows, so kind of creating that pinwheel effect. And the dimensions, while I probably should not have used inches. I should have just used, apologies.
3,000 inches.
It's approximately 3.5 feet in height and 5 feet in length. So the actual bike sculpture itself. We intend to place this. Oh, wait, just kidding. I actually have a video of what this might look like. If I can figure this out. Enter. Nope, just kidding. I don't know how to do that. What's this thing? That looks fun, right there. Go back.
You sure you have a video?
Yeah. Well, it
Click in the
spins
middle.
very freely.
Imagine everyone if that was spinning.
Yeah.
Pinwheels.
The wheels.
How many RPMs we talking?
Yep.
It was a calm day.
That's how that works.
Class
Does-
2
does the-
level of
does-
spin.
Does the whole thing spin with the wind direction?
Yeah, so it's 360 degrees. It'll rotate. So we have two locations that we are looking at for Wilbarger Creek Park South. Our ideal location is location number 1, so it's just south of the dog park that kind of is along that trail that leads to the park. That's the most preferred location. We do have some irrigation and electrical lines that we would have to avoid. However, we do have a backup plan for site number 2, which is north of the park, and it would look kind of like that. Do you have any thoughts?
Could you go back to the map of the
Yeah.
site? Okay. So that one's by the dog park, the star up above. I mean, the first star, right?
Yeah,
Upper?
so the preferred site is number 1.
Okay.
And it's along the trail that
Yes.
comes from the parking lot to the dog park.
Okay. And then the other one is by the playground. That's got the playground area.
It's
basically.
actually just immediately north
Okay.
of the dog park. So the dog park is right over here. And taking a look at the as-built, and there's no irrigation or electrical on this side. So we believe that that is a great backup option. But we would prefer that it's on the south side. It'll get much more visibility for people that are visiting the park.
I had a question. Is this like prefab? Is this already built? Okay.
Yeah, we would be commissioning the sculpture, but the artist has a series that they have. So they've had multiple bikes commissioned for other cities.
In that case, do we generally just defer to their artistic?
Interpretation.
So this would be the design that is proposed. It has a little, I'm gonna call it a tuxedo dog.
That's what
I'm partial to those, but forget offhand what they're called. And then it has abstract figures to represent people.
Is it a Boston Terrier?
Yes, okay,
Okay.
that's what it is.
So one of the things I like about so many of the other art pieces we've already put in is that people they're tactile. The murals they can touch, and the things over by like Pflugerville they can walk up to and climb on and all that stuff. This seems kind of, it's up there and that's it. That seems kind of a deviation from that.
Yeah, so I think within the public art collection, I think it's important to note that we are trying to create a lot of variety within our collection. And this would definitely be adding kinetic art that we have not introduced into our collection yet. We do think that it ties in really well with the Trail Capital of Texas efforts. So I think that it definitely falls in line with that tourism component. And there is a really cute dog with it that is run by a dog park.
You do have some other art that you'll bring to them tonight that
Yes.
is ground level and
Okay.
you can interact with it differently.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will say Georgetown has a really cool kind of kinetic sculpture that like spins with the wind. Although it's like low enough you can actually get up and like push it, like physically move it yourself. But in this case, I get why you want to kind of elevate it for anti-vandalism purposes, I suppose.
So the price tag on that, if you could go back to
Yeah.
that just includes the actual sculpture. That does not include any of the installation in case you hit electrical. I mean, if there's something in the way to move it.
Yeah, so the sculpture in and of itself is $16,500. We would have to pay for shipping, and we are going to be working with a contractor for all of the site prep related to sculptures tonight.
And that's on top of that price.
Correct.
Okay.
Overall, we anticipate having just prep, pouring of pads, whatever it might be, to total about $20,000 together.
Is that money from hot funds?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Is that hotel?
Yes.
Hotel
Yeah.
occupancy tax.
No occupancy.
And where's it being shipped from? Or where's the artist located?
San Diego, California.
We'll need a motion.
Any other questions? Okay, I make a motion
Are we doing a
to,
motion to accept
Yeah.
a location, or do you just want to make a motion
Just-
that Aaron makes the location?
Just the
the
commissioning.
commission of the bike sculpture.
Yeah, we just
Okay.
wanted to make sure that we
Okay.
showed the location because it's really important to
Okay.
consider when you're citing artwork.
Okay. Okay, I want to make a motion to approve the commission of the bike sculpture. Does anyone have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Excuse me, sorry. I didn't see, who made the first motion?
Ray made the
I did.
motion.
Sorry, okay.
Ray made the motion.
I wasn't looking, sorry.
So just gotta vote.
Yeah. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Hey.
Motion carries. And you got more for us, right?
Yes.
All right.
I do. I have 4 more for you.
Okay.
Erin, I'm sorry, I forgot one more question about, what's the time frame on that?
So I believe we have accounted for 110 days, and that's to account for delivery of the sculpture. And in the meantime, after tonight, we'll be working with a contractor to do the site prep for all the locations. Our next one is also at Wilbarger Creek Park South. It's called Smitten by John Maisano. He is an Austin-based artist and sculptor. So this is a bronze sculpture depicting a life-size bobcat. I put inches again in there, but let's just call it a life-size bobcat for a moment. It's a limited edition of 40, and the purchase price is $7,200. The installation cost will be quite minimal for this particular sculpture because we intend to place it on a low seating wall within the park, and I have some pictures of that location. So the artist, and I try to include a lot of the vision that the artist had for each of these pieces, but this bobcat was modeled after their cat, Gronk. And so I felt like it was the perfect opportunity to add a cat picture to a presentation that I don't typically get to do. So that's Gronk.
So we should offer a prize to the first person who catches a picture of a real bobcat.
That's right.
So,
Sculpture.
fun fact, I've seen 2 in the park in
Yeah,
the
oh,
past
we have-
3
we have
years.
all-
I
That'd
guess.
be
we have all
easier.
the
Oh,
prizes.
really?
Yeah,
Okay,
over
cool.
by Henderson. over.
Awesome. So this would be kind of more towards the north side of the park on Wilbarger Creek Park South, and it's at that trail intersection.
Are you gonna include some type of plaque that describes what you just said about Gronk, the cat?
Oh, I would love to.
Yeah.
So that's an existing piece of concrete?
It is.
That's cool. Now that I see it like that, it looks cool, yeah.
Yeah. Smitten's just chilling there on that bench.
Is that the bridge?
It's close by. There's a little bridge.
If the primary location for the bike sculpture falls through and you end up having to put it over there, would that like change the decision for that location, given that you're kind of clustering some art close together, or does it actually benefit it because you again got art clustered together?
Yeah, so I think there's kind of, I think we're kind of going at it at two different angles. I think that we do want our art to be well distributed throughout the community, but focusing on community level parks and regional parks. But also there's a huge kind of desire to also cluster as well. This is relatively close by, and if you kind of look at a larger scale, Wilbarger Creek Park north and south will also have quite a bit of art, and it kind of creates some opportunities within those looped systems.
Because you have the tiles.
Yeah.
Right.
On
yeah,
the seat walls at the
mosaics,
north.
yeah. I was gonna say, is there anything else there except the mosaics? I can't remember.
So with Wilbarger Creek Park North, we just have the mosaics at the moment, but the next item is on the north side. And so this would really just, I think what we're trying to do is create art trails, art walks. And over the past year and a half, we've been conducting little surveys for art. I think we have probably about over 200 responses thus far since starting. And a lot of the feedback that we receive is, well, sure, you know, put it in along trails, along parks. But they also, I find it really interesting that they say in areas that create little surprises for people when they're on the trail system. So I always thought that was really interesting, some of those responses. But yeah, we can, there's some low seating walls kind of south of the park as well. South of the dog park, I should say.
Yeah,
They're great
I
opportunities
think this will
for
really
art.
attract, I'm, as I made clear, I think I'm a big fan of these things that people can walk up and sit on and touch.
Like
And
you
so
art
this-
merch too.
And so the sculpture already exists, or are we looking at artist rendition?
This actually exists.
Okay.
It would be ready in about a month.
Cool.
It would be at the foundry, and so they're having to put on, make it more of an outdoor version with UV coating and such like that to protect the patina on it.
I was just gonna ask what types of concerns there are with bronze. 'Cause people can't really harm it, can they?
Well, I think people can
Short
harm
of a
all
sled-
art,
short of a
but
sledgehammer,
I think
yeah.
in terms of the bronze sculpture, I think it kind of gets us to that next step of kind of creating art that has longer longevity. Now, with the patina in and of itself, it does. We would have to clean it and wax it on occasion
Okay.
to make sure that it looks like new. Junior, you up for that, buddy?
He cleans and waxes me on occasion.
Gotta go wax
wax
my
off.
bobcat.
Love working with Darren.
Job security.
And that's not a euphemism.
Any other comments, any other questions? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the purchase of, what was his name, Smitten?
I'll move that we approve it.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. You got one more, or two more? Three more.
Three more? Yeah.
Sweet.
So this is also by the same artist. This is for Roxy within Wilbarger Creek Park North. It is an oversized bronze sculpture depicting a fox, about 2.5 feet in height. Am I got my calculation correct? It's a limited edition of 25. The purchase price is $17,000 plus installation costs. The installation cost would be including the pouring of the concrete pad associated with it.
And what's the time frame on that?
This I actually think is it's available within the same time frame, within
30
about a month. It's modeled after a fox that was in their neighborhood that was a little sassy and playful in the street. So we plan to put it on the north side. It's by just immediately south of Craters of the Moon and kind of in that entrance area to the, I guess, the multi-use field. We hope to put it on a podium with kind of a little perimeter pad around it, just to kind of give it a little bit more height and prominence.
Well, in addition to my question about the plaque, are you gonna put any, identifying, the artist's name, et cetera, up there?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, on the plaques we typically use artist name, title of the piece, materials, and year. And also we've used kind of like an abbreviated artist statement for the piece to kind of give more explanation.
Now, we know the kids are gonna get on that thing, and the other one too. Is there anything that might be an issue with that, or is that, the pointed, sharp objects on the fox, the ears maybe?
Yeah, so definitely discuss this with the artist. And this one, I'm not sure if I can go back a little bit. We tried Roxy out in multiple locations in the parks, and we did find that it was probably more helpful to move it away from the playground setting to kind of protect it more. But we could definitely add more signage that says, please don't roughhouse with Roxy or
Play at your own risk.
Please don't do that. So yeah, we think that some of the art, it's probably easier to probably site away from playground areas.
And that's painted bronze?
So I'm learning more about bronze sculptures and the process by which it gives it that really unique sort of painted look. The patinas are created by chemicals that they use to then somehow create that painted look. And that's probably one of the reasons why these particular pieces require a little bit more maintenance, because it has that UV coating on it to protect the patina. But yes, I'm not sure which chemicals are used to make that patina.
I wouldn't understand anyway.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Anybody, any other comments? Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the purchase of Roxy?
I move to approve the purchase of Roxy.
I'll
Do we
second
have a
it.
second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. We have two more tonight, and it's under one particular motion. So we plan to, the next two pieces are functional art pieces that kind of serve as benches as well. They are carved out of Indiana limestone, so longevity we anticipate centuries. The total combined purchase price and with delivery would be $20,400, plus us pouring concrete pads for it at the lake. So Daydreamer, it depicts an abstract figurine relaxing. We anticipate putting this at Lake Pflugerville, kind of in a scenic area where it can be an overlook. This is about
What side of the lake is that? Is that
this is the south side.
South side.
Yeah, that's back in that corner.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it's about a 1/4 mile west along the trail from Rockman and Pebble, if
Okay.
that's at all helpful.
Right.
Yeah.
So these are the new apartments on the south side. And then One Way or Another, this depicts growth and the power to overcome adversity. Very ornate and detailed. And we plan to put this on the, let's call it the western side of the lake. So just east of Becker Farm Road along the trail.
So what impact do planned Lake Pflugerville expansions have on these locations?
Yeah, so we won't see any impact to this area here. That would be boardwalk improvements. We'd obviously just plan the boardwalk around that space.
I thought the boardwalk was in the little wetlands area.
It is, but we would just extend out from it from a different spot. If the boardwalk was supposed to go over that spot, we could just go to the left or to the right.
Oh, I see.
You know what I mean?
Is that the Daydreamer side? I mean, the sculpture that would be part of that, closer to the boardwalk than this guy?
This one here would be closer to the
Oh,
boardwalk.
it would, okay.
Yeah, this would be the boardwalk section of the improvement. And I don't see any impact to the other side.
What's your time frame, Aaron?
So these sculptures are existing. I would have to pour some pads, so it's probably about 2 to 3 months out. Because I have to let it cure and coordinate with the artist in terms of delivery.
Is he locally based, or he or she locally based?
They are out of Kentucky.
That's local.
How do you guys generally select, like when you're getting like art, do you guys have like proposals that people send in, or?
Yeah, so in December and in early January, we conducted a national call for art. And these were part of the submissions for that.
And is there generally preference for locally based art, or is it just purely on kind of what fits?
I think as a general rule of thumb, we would prefer regional and local artists. I think it's more about continuing to I guess, promote our art calls for art and making sure that it gets out to regional artists. And that's what we have been doing. We've been sending out emails to regional artists when we do calls for art, local and regional artists. So it's really just kind of getting the word out there. I do think that sometimes when there's an open call, there's quite a bit of work on the artist side to just submit their submissions. So I think that could be part of it. But definitely opportunities to work with regional and local artists are desired.
Any other questions? Any other comments? Do we have a motion to approve the purchase of Daydreamer and one way or another?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
I'll second, since that seems to be my place in life tonight.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion
You're
carries.
sassy when you're warm.
Wait till I get home.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron, good job. I want to see you pour that, by the way. You said it's going to take you 2 to 3 minutes. I want to see you pour that slab. Take a video of that.
Okay, we're going to go back to discuss only 4A, discussion regarding director's update, including information about project status updates, upcoming special events, and staffing.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Jonathan Hansen, Rec Superintendent. Wanted to cover 2 big things that are coming up over the next 2 weekends. So the first one is Egg Palooza. This is a specific invite for you as the Parks Commission to please join us out there if you're able to on Saturday, April 19th. It starts at 1 o'clock and will go till 5. There is the opportunity for you to be able to do the countdown for the kids actually hunting the eggs. And so if you would like to be a part of that, plus also tossing out the eggs and just a really fun time, we would love to have y'all there. It's at 1849 Park. It's free for people to attend. In 2024, we had 2,500. Depending on what the weather does, we may have a few less this year. The weather does look like it's going to be rainy, and so we are planning for backup options, but we are going to roll forward with this event one way or another. So,
Is that on the soccer field side or the football field side?
The soccer field side. So it'll be on pods 1 and pods 3. So for the schedule of it, and if you would like to come, you don't have to stay the whole time, but I just wanted to give you the opportunity. So the 1 p.m. time, this is something we did last year, and then we've been trying to market it harder this year, is our adaptive hour. It's the very first thing, so if there are any participants who need a quieter atmosphere, we're going to kind of tone it down at the very beginning. And then we have the 0 to 4s, the 5 to 8s, and the 9 to 12s. If you have kids too, please bring them, or grandkids, or nieces or nephews, whatever it may be. Also coming up, not this weekend, but next weekend, it is Slice, so April 26th. It's from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. I personally am super pumped. We have the Spin Doctors headlining. You've probably heard their 2 most popular songs. We went from Los Lonely Boys, who were great, but they were a 1-hit wonder, to the Spin Doctors, which are a 2-hit wonder. So, Honey Maid, don't sleep on them. They are also a really, really good band. And then Spicy Loops, who played last year, but is also just incredible artist. And then we have a great community performance lineup. We have the African Dance Experience, the Round Rock Ballet Folklorico and Copperfield, Texas Dragon Lion Dance, and Austin Powwow. And we actually just added another one, which is a Peruvian folk dance. Where are they going in the... I didn't put them in here.
They're going to be from 11 to 11:30.
So we're trying to add a variety to our lineup as well. And then t-shirts and bite passports are on sale. So as a reminder, the way the bite program works is that if you purchase a $10 bite passport, which is the one on the right, that guarantees you a free sample from each of the vendors. Last year we had 9 vendors. Gabby and Bays have done an incredible job. We have 19 vendors this year. So you could make a meal or 2 out of the samples that you're going to get. We have a sweets division, a savory division. So there's going to be 19 different places who are, if you purchase it for $10, are going to give you a free sample.
And
so
if you participate, you get to vote.
yes, and there will be a judge's choice, and then essentially a crowd's choice. Just so you know, we're going to have bite passports for the Parks Commission here at the Rec Center. I'll let you know when they're available. They will have a special sticker on them, and y'all will be some of our judges who are voting. So if you're able to attend, we'd love to have you, and we'll have a bite passport set aside for you.
And the shirts.
Yes, and the shirts, going back to our awesome tie-dye shirts, we want them to be bright and fun. And easily recognizable.
We have those here already?
Mm-hmm.
So you can pick them up today?
Yeah. Actually, I take that back. They're at the Windermere office.
Oh, no.
No.
They are here. They're just not in this building.
If you know someone,
Yeah.
Okay, any questions on those 2 events? Awesome. I also just want to give you some updates on some of the projects we're working on. So you can see one of the projects that we're going to be taking to council fairly soon is the Gillen Creek Park Playground project. Hand me that. So right now we already have this. Is that right, Jeff?
You got that and the south one there.
Right here. These 2 were the infrastructure that was already in place. We've replaced those. Those because all this infrastructure is going up in a floodplain, which means it's just really close to a creek that potentially could flood. And because of that, there's some extra oversight from engineering that's required to make sure that what we do doesn't impact those residents, that we don't add things that then adversely affects the residents that are outside the floodplain. So those 2 playgrounds were flipped about a year ago, approved by council. The other one here is a new addition. So it's taken a little bit more engineering oversight because when you're replacing something from a floodplain for like, that impact's already been approved. But adding something new to the floodplain, you gotta get approval for. So we've been working on getting some approval for that. And then you'll also see a section here that we'll talk about in a minute as well, and some turf over here. So the playground itself is going to see these two sections improved, an additional play area, and then this whole area will have this trail connections. It'll actually have an area that it connects from this side of the area as well. We'll see some sidewalk improvements here and some connections that connects to this trail that happens along the creek. And then you'll see some boardwalk areas under Big Shady, the big pecan tree. That's the largest one in Travis County. So we wanted to make sure that we were allowing connections, but we weren't impacting that tree or its root system in any way.
Special request by Dave.
Yeah, our forester really makes a big deal of that tree. I don't know why.
That's a big tree.
That's right, it is a big tree. Also, as I was talking about earlier, the Gillen Creek Shade project. So this area right now was the old home.
That's right.
So it's been demoed, and for a year it was just a grassy. Last year, because that project wrapped up right before the swim season started, the peak season started, this area in yellow has just been grass, and we've been mowing it, but clippings get into the filter system. They at times get stomped out and muddy, and so it makes the kids track mud into the water as well. And that gets into the pumps and filter systems. And so one of the things we're working on is putting turf and shade over there. Turf, which we'll talk about in a second, and shade, which we're talking about right here. We're gonna have 2 canopies that'll be about 2,000 square feet total. That'll provide some shade over that newly turfed area. Those things are going to council at this next council agenda, hoping to get those approved. And then the turf will be in the yellow area, as we were referring to earlier, and this green section here. So we're hopefully going to eliminate all the turf inside the fence at Gillen Creek. So we're not mowing, weed eating, maintaining any natural grass area. So we're not getting those clippings or the residuals from those areas into our pump and filter system. So these will be artificial turf. Here and here, but it's a canine application, which is used in areas and is the best version for drainage. So if there's a spill in these areas, or if we're trying to wash something out in those areas, it has the most porous surface that can get through to the natural space underneath.
Are they getting any better on like reducing the heat retention on those? Because I know, like, again, like
They get warm.
it's nice, but they do get warm.
They get warm. So is the concrete.
And the shade, obviously, will.
That's one of the reasons we're doing shade.
The shade plus the turf.
And we're ultimately working on doing some shade that we'll bring to the future all around this facility. But any improvement in these floodplain areas does require extra engineering oversight, which we're here for. It just sometimes takes longer than we would like to see. We just want people to tell us yes. What's the big deal? So, everybody's got to worry about flood stuff. So we'll be bringing those to you in the future when we know a little bit more about them.
The good news is the turf is about 10 degrees cooler than the concrete would be,
Yeah.
even if they were just in the
A
sun.
little bit better. Yeah.
That's great.
And then Murchison Park, it's part of the bond program. It's an undeveloped park from our 2013 undeveloped plan. It's going to have playground, shade, an open air pavilion. It was going to cost a little bit more if it stayed on the bond. We went and took that to council and asked to remove it from the bond contract and let us do that purchase, and saved us about almost $50,000 in savings. It's very similar to what we did with Mallard Pond as well. And that one's already been to council.
That's near the splash pad?
It is, yeah, and that's a great question, Stan. So this is a map of Murchison, and you can see, this is where the existing little playground and splash pad is. This would be the new location of the new playground and pavilion, so kind of hitting both sides of it now. The green is the existing trail. You can see where it terminates there. This is a new trail that's going to be added. This orange is all new trail system that's added to that park.
When does that project start?
We have our pre-construction meeting next week, so it'll start in the next 2 weeks.
Oh, wow. Not the playground, the whole park
The
renovation.
whole, yes, the whole park renovation.
So this is
Playground might come across. Well, I don't know.
playground. What?
Depending on how long, it might come across quicker than some of the other portions of it, but it just depends on.
Why is it Oh, it's being done separately because it's funded separately.
Yeah, we have access to co-op. It's coming from the same bond program, but we have access to co-op purchasing that sometimes vendors don't have. And to be quite honest, if you're a construction vendor and we put in the contract you're buying a playground, you're just gonna mark that up and work with some sort of vendor. And so to remove the markup and to get the best purchasing option we could, we took it off the contract and we saved us, like I said, about $45,000 in savings for the playground, the shade, and the open air pavilion.
Is there any improvements to the dog park that's there? Or is that
I
gonna
don't
stay
think
as
there's
is?
improvements in the current bond program, but I think that is something that we identified in the master plan that needs improvements, and now that we've improved, now that we've opened, Wilbarger South and have kind of raised our standard for that, I think we're gonna see improvements to the two current dog parks that we had, which would be Stone Hill and Falcon Point. And especially as we go through a full season and we see how the turf and the DG stand up at Wilbarger Creek South, that's probably gonna be something we're gonna start to work to put into our old facilities, because that turf does wear out at those two locations. And then Cambridge Estates was taken to council a couple weeks back. It was part of a capital outlay program. That replacement brings our overall age of our playgrounds, or will, under 5. We're at 5.39 right now, so this will take it to 4.33. It was a 2 to 5 playground piece, and it was just the playground. It was under, this shade's actually staying, and I probably should have put an existing slide, but it's just a small little part that had a 2 to 5 piece, and right now this area and this area is just grass. It's just a green space. What we're doing is we're adding some natural play elements, so some climbers like we have at Falcon Point, Ray, and some areas here that we've seen great success in, and we're extending the play value to the community from a 2 to 5 to now we're adding to 5 to 12 pieces. So the span is now 2 to 12. And then Barleyfield's the last one that we've taken to council recently as part of the outlay as well. We show you on the map because not a lot of people know where Barleyfield is, but Barleyfield is a pocket park in Falcon Point. So this is the Falcon Point. This is the Central Park area that we've done the replacement in. This is the school here, and over here is Costco. And it was 18 years old. And you can see on the left what it looked like currently. And you can see essentially the same vantage point. You can see that we're going to be replacing this. And we're actually going to replace these swings, put in some new ones, but the same layout. We're adding a little 2 to 5 piece here. We're going to have this 5 to 12 piece here as well. And it's got integrated shade, which hits our standard. So.
And when is that taking place, Shane?
It's on. Yeah. It'll be a few weeks before their lead time's probably around. Yeah.
So it's ordered, so probably before summer or close to.
Close to summer.
I'm always
now.
scaring Junior. Yeah.
Keep you in your office.
And that's the director's report. Now, because y'all also serve as the Deutschen Pfest steering committee, we have a Deutschen Pfest update.
Congratulations.
Okay, that's enough.
So, just wanted to give you a quick update. We posted on 4/16 through our finance department our carnival rides bid. So last year we had switched to a different carnival vendor. It was the first time we had used them. Because we were a first-time customer, they gave us an awesome discount. We ended up being less than the requirement to take it to council. This year, we're not going to get that first-time discount. So it will be over $50,000, and so that's required then to go to bid. That bid will close on May 1st, so we'll be bringing back what comes back from that to let y'all know who we've selected. The things that we put in the bid request was a Ferris wheel that was 42 feet tall, a merry-go-round that's 45 feet, Apple Spin, Pirate's Revenge, the Zoomer, the Sizzler, and then Carnival Games. So that's a lot of rides. We're if you remember last year, we were about to replace the Gillen Creek Playground, so that actually came out and was a flat piece of land that we could then use to put rides on. Those playgrounds obviously are back now. So we're working on the layout, but the Ferris wheel will probably go next to the concert grounds so that it'll provide a cool overlook opportunity. And that'll open up some more space for us to still have all the rides on the Gillen Creek side for Deutschen Fest.
Compared to last year, the Ferris wheel, you're saying this is 42 feet. What was the dimension last year?
I think it was 30.
42.
No, it was the 42? Yeah,
Okay.
so it's the 42
Same.
again. The year before that, I think it was like a 30-foot one, 25-foot. So we went up last year and we're going to keep it up again this year.
That's great. It's moving to over there by the concert area.
Yeah.
It's great.
Also, I remember, I know the first three were there. Which of the, were any of those bottom four there too?
So the Pirates Revenge is, I'm going to lean heavily on my events team here. Pirates Revenge and the Zoomer are both new. I think we had the Sizzler.
Zoomer and Sizzler were both kind of back almost behind the pool. They were like the big chain swing.
The big chain swing, yeah.
Yeah, I believe it's the Zoomer, and the one that's kind of your almost more traditional like carnival fun ride was the Zoomer. Jonathan's right. Pirates Revenge would be new this year, and the Apple Spin was one of the rides that is where the Gillen Creek Playground is again now. So we kind of sat right there in the middle next to the Ferris wheel.
Carnival games are new as well.
Yep.
So the other thing that we want to bring to you, and this one we want a little bit of feedback on as well. This is the proposed stage schedule. So right now the time frames that we're looking at are Friday 10:17 from 5 to 7, and then 8 to 10, and then Saturday 10:18. That's from 11 a.m. to 1, 2 to 4, 5 to 7, and 8 to 10. We have designated some spots where we want to identify some key, through Rock the Block, through Music in the Park, some key areas that we think really hit with our community. So you can see the 8 to 10 on Friday we've designated as a Southern Rock group. And then on the 5 to 7 on Saturday, we're looking for a large polka band. And then the 8 to 10, I actually have some good news here that if you remember a couple council meetings ago, we took a sound and talent contract, which has really streamlined our process. And so we've actually already been able to book our headlining band. So y'all are hearing it first. If you want to look them up, their name is Easy Band. They are a Tejano cover band, so they cover modern day songs in a Tejano style. So it's really fun. They do a great party. They actually this year opened the Houston Dynamo's very first game. And so we are super excited to have them. They're going to throw a great party for us in that 8 to 10 slot.
I know this has got some good musicians up there, but this is a Deutschen Fest, which is German. I don't see too much German stuff here. And, you know, we have this kind of music all year long. You got all these slice of Pflugerville things that were going on. So you have all these events, you got Music in the Park that are more to this. But when you have one event that's just German, I don't see too much German up there.
So
And
here's where we
that's-
want your feedback as
Yes.
well. So that Friday 5 to 7, and then the Saturday 11 to 1 and 2 to 4. If you have ideas of different types of music or bands, so it sounds like German is maybe one of them.
Well, it is Deutschen Fest.
Yeah.
Yes, unless we're going to change the name of the festival to,
We got the beer tent, right? You know?
yeah, I mean, the
got-
beer tent's great.
we
I
got
mean, don't get me
October.
wrong, some of the things that are there are wonderful, but, you know, we need a little bit more German, I think, if it's going to be called Deutschen Fest.
When we worked with the Deutsche Fest steering committee last year, we did transition it a little bit from a German festival to a Texas German festival, which provides us some coverage because that's really what Pflugerville is, right? We're a German community, but we're a German community with Texas roots, and so I think you definitely can find some. And we've heard from the dais from even council like they want the German heritage to be felt throughout the event, but they don't want to browbeat you either because There's only so much German food and German music that you can source, you know. And
Well, it's
that's
only once a
good,
year though,
quality, right,
but
yeah.
it's only once a year, it's not 365.
Sure.
We can get Easy Band to do some German covers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Well, that's why we really embraced the Guten Tag y'all, because as
Exactly.
Shane has said before, German can be a lot of things. A lot of the same musical instruments that are in Teano are actually a crossover of that German. So
Sure.
like an accordion, all those kind of things are going to be a part of that, but it's a different spin on that kind of German culture.
All the polkas, yes.
What's that, your hand up?
I've got about 10 years of spreadsheets of all the Deutschen Fest music, because that's what I used to do, right? And this same thing came up every single year, and a big component of it is the fact that it's October. So good luck with anybody being able to get any large, well-known band,
'Cause
vendor,
Oktoberfest, that's what-
Oktoberfest, it is just, that is the German theme. And, you know, you guys know, we've heard this for years, should we be all German, should we not be German? It initially wasn't a German fest, if you look at the history of it, didn't have anything to do with that.
Yeah, because I lived here back in the 80s, and back then
Me
it was
too.
in May. Deutschen
Well,
Fest was in May.
Until
our
the
church,
rain took over.
Our
and it was
church that
awful.
we had fajitas for
Right.
sale. That wasn't German, but that's what we sold.
But
I
it was a
mean,
moneymaker.
So but at the same time, you know, they're trying, now that the name is still there, and I'm just trying to.
Yeah.
I know we're gonna probably go this direction, but we ought to at least consider, I think that's what we got here, the consider thing, you know, is, you know, in the future, maybe with enough time. Now there's no time to get different bands set up. I don't think there's time. I
Yeah,
mean,
there is. Yeah, there is.
Because they're
I'll-
booked
I'll
up for
talk-
October. Everybody's booked up for October, basically, the
Have you
German.
been booking bands?
No, if you look at
He's talking about
Wurstfest,
Oktoberfest
you look,
bands, yeah.
you
No,
look
but
at
I'm,
Wahlberg, you go, all these little German towns around here, they're looking for these kind of bands too in October
we're
also.
girls, we can get it done.
Is there any other kinds of music, not particular bands, but any types of music that y'all would like to see in some of those open spots?
That 11 o'clock Saturday spot is hard. It's real hard. You don't want to spend a whole lot of money bringing a well-known band in, because 11 o'clock, people just don't show up necessarily. They might be there, but they're not there for the band. That Saturday night and Friday night is their big spot.
I would mention, I don't think I've seen a bluegrass band there since, and I could be wrong that someone has gone in there. But I think that's, again, I know Austin has a good selection of bluegrass musicians who are willing to hop in and kind of do those early gigs.
Yeah.
I was also going to ask, are we still going to have, I know there was kind of like an Oompa band that was not on the stage, but kind of a local area, and they'll still be there to kind of
Yeah,
entertain
so
that German.
that was the beer garden area, and we love that idea of having those smaller and historical kind of German bands. There's a lot of them who they've come to Deutschen Fest, you know, every year for these kind of things, whether as a participant or as a performer. What we are going to dial in this year is we heard some feedback that you couldn't really, unless you were in the beer garden right next to those bands, you couldn't really hear them because they were drowned out by the main stage or the house music in between the artists getting on stage and doing sound check. So we're dialing in. Well, I think we're there, but we just need to coordinate the timing just a little bit more on that to hit the sweet spot.
Have we reached out to any of the schools that have bands, that have orchestras, you know, for that potential
No,
11 a.m. to
no.
1 p.m.?
So,
No.
so this is a great thing that we'll talk about too. So the fun run, we last year reached out and started getting some of those community performers, so there was a Taekwondo group and then I think a Krav Maga group. And so we're looking for those school bands, those kind of things for that fun run on Saturday morning. Where it's a lot more community atmosphere. It's organizations that those kids might be a part of can also say like, hey, if you'd like to join the Folklorico dance group, here's an application for it. So they will be included. They'll just be included at the fun run Saturday morning.
Because I do know that during Christmas, that there is a there's bands from different schools there.
Yeah, during Festival of
Yeah,
Lights.
yeah, the Festival of Lights.
And
Yes.
what we've heard, and I was a band parent for the longest year of my life.
But the best, but the best.
But it was so good. And I think there's other people that could
Attest to that.
attest to that as well. But the fall, specifically October, is like band-a-gemin or something.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of
Stuff going on.
performances, and they're trying to hit their sweeps and all the things that they're trying to do in the UIL world. And so,
Well, I was a band parent too, and so I'm not gonna degrade band parents or the band grandparents and the aunties and uncles, but that's who's gonna show up, and then they're gonna leave. They're gonna show up for their kids' band performance, and then they're gonna leave. It's not gonna reach out to all of Pflugerville, and which is the point of the Deutschen Fest, trying to bring the money in, trying to blah, 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 right? Have you reached out to Austin Polka Band? Pat Durcat? Okay,
Not yet.
okay,
We're gonna wrap up Slice and then we're
Got it.
running straight into it.
okay.
Almost there, but that's why we wanna hear y'all's, feedback.
Well, that's what I was saying, if you have a potential large polka, and I've got their contact info, so we can talk later. Said I got spreadsheets.
I see
Send it over.
Suede is on the picture there. Are they gonna perform? I love Suede.
We also love Suede. They're great. They performed quite a few times for us. So
At this time, they're not performing. We've not talked to them, but they will be at Rock the Block this year.
Okay.
that's the other thing. We're trying to look for variety too, so that we're not just hitting up the same
people.
artists who have played at a Rock the Block.
The Swade's done it, I think, 2 years. The Swade's done D-Fest 2 years in a row, and we'd love to have them every year, and American Gypsy and some of those other groups that we really appreciate. But I'm afraid sometimes what we hope for is someone will go because they're like, oh, blank is performing, and if they've heard Swade the last 3 years, they're like, we've heard them the last 3 years. So trying to get new bands to come into not at every spot, but definitely at the top spots when we can, or at least rotate it through a little bit.
And that seems to fold in with trying to get attendance up, because last year attendance was on the lower side.
We battled that UT Georgia game, which they're not playing. UT's not playing Georgia that weekend, so that's already a win for us.
The big screen was well appreciated.
Yeah, Coda of the Americas still happening. It's already the Americas, but you know.
What's your age demographics on both Friday and Saturday nights?
We'd have to pull it from Placer, I guess. Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, with the addition of the screen in the beer garden, Saturday night was an slightly older demographic, but it still hits right where the master plan says that we should be aiming for kind of that adult, because then they bring their kids are on the playground while
Right.
the parents get to, watch a game or something like that. So
So there's a lot of, quote, older musicians that are out here that don't want to perform in Austin, don't even want to travel to Austin anymore. And so that's a thought too, just, like the Monty Montgomerys, that type of thing that I've been pushing for 10 years.
Take one of those. Take a couple of those.
yeah,
We got a couple
Limp
spots.
is good.
Okay.
awesome.
Now, we just need to do one more discuss and consider, and we're done for the night.
Is that item 5F?
That is.
Discuss and consider action regarding the Dark Sky Subcommittee Appointments.
So I was not here last month, but I am under the understanding that y'all voted in the Dark Sky Subcommittee. So now we're just voting in who's going to be appoint our members. Is that correct? Yep. Awesome. Well, get to appointing.
And I think anybody that wasn't here last meeting is on the committee, I think.
All right. So what?
I'm in.
I would also like to.
So we can do up to 3, and we can do it as one big appointment, or we can do them per, so however you want to do it.
Is anybody else interested?
I think he just,
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Yeah,
I'm interested.
Okay? We got 3 people. If someone wants to make a motion on them, I can see.
Do we need to make a motion about making a motion about voting all 3 at one time, or?
I think you can make a motion of just all 3.
I make a motion that we vote all 3 at one time.
Okay.
Jennifer
Second.
and Elise.
Because I'm close now, Jan.
Do we have a second?
I'm not
Kristen,
talking
Stand for a second.
Okay, Crystal got a second. All in favor,
That's
say
what I'm
aye.
trying to warn people.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Didn't think you heard that.
Motion carries.
They didn't
Thank
give
you.
a chance to. They all kind of volunteered though.
Yeah.
Easy.
Okay. And now, you can adjourn this bad boy.
You have a motion to adjourn.
I said a motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.